Hi guys, Dr. Woody here. Hello Cougar Nation. We are very excited to have our first interview of Real Life with Readers and Writers, right? So we keep talking to you guys about how the fact that what you're doing in class is not in isolation, that you will use these skills in life and you can actually use these skills and make money with it. So today we have a musician here with us. His name is Mitch Stewart. He is connected to our very own Miss Keela Stewart, so he is her son. And is it okay if I call you Mitch?
Yeah.
All right, Mitch. Tell us how do you use reading and writing in your professional life?
Well, I mean, I started writing when I was in seventh and eighth grade, along the same time that I got my first guitar, and it kind of just went hand in hand. And I realized that I had some things that I wanted to express, and I don't think that I knew that I had things that I wanted to express before that. But around the same time, music became more of a passion for me and something that spoke to me. And I at the same time, my dad was going to Iraq. It was when 9/11 had happened, and so I was writing a lot about that and my emotions around all that stuff.
Yeah.
And writing was a very cathartic experience for me to get my emotions out.
That's awesome. And so, guys, I want you to notice we've been talking about narrative nonfiction, right? So we've been talking about real life stories. And so he has just expressed how he was writing about what was happening in his life as a way to express it. So tell us a little bit about the name of your band and how long have y'all been together and some things like that.
Okay. Yeah, so the name of my band is Vagabond Crow.
Okay.
Which gets messed up 90% of the time when people say it. But the name kind of comes from the idea that my life in particular has been a series of ups and downs, and it took me a while to feel like I reached a place where I could settle in, and so I felt like a little bit of a vagabond for most of my life after I left high school, and Crow, my partner Paula and I both have crow tattoos, and
okay.
So we started the band together, and it started out as a little duet and mostly acoustic folk music, and then we eventually added more people to the band, and now it's kind of back to the two of us, and we're just kind of going with the flow of whatever works out. And of course, COVID-19 made it harder to get together with a bunch of people, so we just decided to bring it back down to a two-piece. But we're kind of experimenting with different things as we go.
Okay, that's awesome. So writing as a band, do you write individually? Do you write as a group? Do you brainstorm off of each other? Tell us about the writing process for Vagabond Crow.
So the writing process for me has always been really personal and individualized. It happens in the moment for me, whether I plan to sit down and write a song, or I'm just hanging out at home and it happens, or something, or an event happens in my life that inspires a specific song. I have tried writing with other people, and I've been open, especially with Paula, to adding in verses and choruses here and there. But 90% of the time, it's just me.
Okay.
And words will get changed here and there, or lines will get changed, or phrases to kind of speak more to what I'm trying to say in the song, or that just sounds better. Because when you write something and then you go to sing it, the words don't always fit.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of going back and saying, well, I should say this word, or I've used this word a lot in this song or in other songs, so maybe let me come up with another synonym or something like that to fit better in the song.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to make sure that they heard that, right? So he revises early and often, which is something we say to y'all too, right? So the revision process happens and it's continuous. So that kind of goes into our next question, which is about the revision process. So, kids will oftentimes, no offense guys, want to write something and be done. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I did it. You
Yeah.
asked for this full page and here it is. And so hands off. How do you know a song is done?
I think over the years I've really grown, because as you're saying that, I know, like, in school and in music, I was very much the same way. Like, I just want to get it done. I want to get it over with. And as a musician and as a writer, the idea, at least for me, is like I'm having this feeling, and I want to just get it out, because once it's outside of my mind, I can see it. And if it's a really hard subject or difficult subject, it doesn't feel as difficult anymore. And as I am sharing my music with other people, I realize that it needs to sound better than maybe it just sounds to me. Other people might be inspired by what I'm saying or feel something by what I'm saying, and I want to be able to convey that clearly. And so as I've gotten older and spent more time writing now for 15 years or more, it's become more important to me to clarify what I'm trying to say, and to maybe go back, or I'll write a piece of the song and leave it alone for a little while, and then come back to it and rework it, and then finish the song.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
it's not just a one and done thing.
One and done.
Yeah.
Writing is not one and done, as we say to you all the times. And so I want to pull up a point he just said, right? Sometimes you write something and you have to let it sit, right? We talk about letting things marinate. And I think that is a real life example of this. How many versions of a song would you say you make? All right, I got the words out, and from that one until when I record it, how many iterations would you say there are?
There are, especially, so we're in the middle of recording a new album right now, and in this album, there are a few songs in there that I've kind of pieced together from other verses. There's another musician that I'm a big fan of. His name is Jack White, and I heard him talk one time about he would just flip through old notebooks and pull just single lines or single words out that really inspired him for a new song that he's working on. And I carried that around with me for a little while and started kind of forcing myself to do that. But it just kind of causes you to expand your writing ability, to go back and say, I'm going to use this verse or phrase that I used here years ago in a new song, and it's really cool to be able to do that. It took me a while to get to that point,
okay.
Because it was no, I'm speaking to this one thing in this one moment. But as the time has passed, I've realized that I've been speaking to a lot of the same points for years, and the same ideas. And if one verse sounds really good in this one song and the rest of it doesn't sound all that great, I can pull that out and place it in another song that I'm working on. So especially with the new album, I think I've done that probably with half of the songs that we've written. They're kind of just been pieced together.
Yeah, from previous ideas that you kind of had and that didn't ever come to fruition, and then it's I need this. I've already done it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to old notebooks that I haven't looked at in years and just flipping through and seeing 90% of what I feel like I'm using that percentage a lot, but it's true. 90% of what you write doesn't always sound all that great or look all that great the first time. You do have to go back and revise.
Really? Huh. That's shocking. Your first draft isn't perfect? Well, okay. So if we were to talk about a time frame, do some songs just come out and it's just yep, there it is, and then some songs, like you say, could take years? Is that kind of the idea here? Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. There are plenty of songs that just come out all at once. It's odd. Some people call it maybe a spiritual experience, to sit down and you feel so inspired by something you don't even know where it came from. And then some things are really difficult to work out. I think it's something that it varies, but you have to be willing and open to the fact that you're not always going to get it right the first time.
To the process.
That's okay. But if you're wanting to create something and say something, it's really important to make sure that you are conveying it good enough for yourself, so that when you walk away from it, it's even if no one ever hears it, you at least know that you feel really good about it.
Yeah, that's great. So you talked about kind of collaborating with Paula, who is in the band with you. Do you have another, are there other people that you would say, I need you to listen to this, I need you to give me some feedback on this? How does that work about getting other people's ideas about your writing?
Yeah, I think that I've become more open to that. It's a really vulnerable thing to write, especially something that's nonfiction, and that you're saying something about yourself, and something especially with art, everyone who's an artist feels very vulnerable and doesn't want anyone to judge them, but you're also putting your whole heart out there and everyone's judging it, you know, for good, better or worse. And so I've found a few people as time has gone by that I do trust to like share, just like, I sat down, I wrote this, I recorded it like an hour ago, what do you think?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I like this, I don't like that. And I think it's important to have those people that you trust to give you that feedback, because that makes you better. And having someone, you know, be honest with you that you're better than this is also a really hard thing to hear, but it also is really important because it inspires you if you can take that critical feedback and apply it to say, yeah, I am better than this, and I can write better than this, or I can play my guitar better than this, I can do something different. It's really easy, especially when you're alone, to just write the same kind of thing, play the same kind of thing over and over again, and then it gets really boring.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get bored with yourself, right, because you're the one that has to listen to it and be there constantly. And so it's really nice to have a few people that can say, like, what do you think about this? Like, that's not all that great.
Yeah.
You can do better than that.
I think that's awesome. So what I want to kind of pull out for you guys in that is the idea of just because somebody gives you feedback doesn't mean it's wrong or bad, right? Feedback is really intended to push you as a reader or a writer, and to make you better and to make you be self-reflective. So I want to kind of go off of that thread for a second. So how did you find these people that you trust to do your reading and write, to do your feedback and critiques?
For me, it you know, it took a lot of time. There's an old friend that I have who I've known since I was 15, and he's a musician as well. And he and I have always been able to be really honest with each other. And you know, we can we'll get together every now and then and just sit down in the car and we'll just share songs with each other. And he's like, oh, that really made me feel this, and like I really like that, or like this is kind of just the same old stuff.
Yeah.
And so that kind of happened organically. And of course with Paula it happened organically. But there's the producer that we work with when we record, named Andy, and it took a while going into the studio and recording, and everything's just bare bones. There's nothing to hide behind. You know, that took some time, because he's not afraid to say, like, you know, that note doesn't sound good, or that sounded really bad.
Well, he didn't sugarcoat it at all. Okay, good.
And you just want to curl up in a ball, or just walk out and say, I'm never going to do this again. And his intention is to push you and to say, like, I'm not judging you. You can do better than this. That did not sound great.
Right.
I know that you want this to sound great.
Yeah.
And you want to be happy with it, so I'm going to tell you, because other people probably won't tell you. Your family's not going to tell you, like, that sounded really bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, your friends most of the time aren't going to tell you that either. You need someone who is a neutral party, who just has your best interest in mind, to tell you, you know, to push you, to open up that creative, you know, valve, and you try things that make you feel really uncomfortable.
So experimenting with your writing is really important, is what I hear you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these are really on the nose for what you're getting at.
Yeah, good. Very good. Here's a good one. Okay, you go to write, and nothing comes out. What do you do?
I've learned to walk away.
Okay.
For me, I get really frustrated because writing has been the thing that has always felt the most natural to me. Okay. It's not something that I really had to work at to be decent at. Okay. And over the years, I found that if I just stay in that moment, if I stay in the same environment, the same setting, and the same attitude, I'm not going to get anywhere. I'm just going to become more and more frustrated. So when I reach that point, there'll be months that go by where I can't get anything out that I'm happy with. It feels like I'm not able to express what I'm trying to say. I'm not able to get the same feeling from the music I'm playing to inspire what I'm trying to say. So I'll just put everything down and just walk away from it because I know that it will come.
It will.
And if your intent, I very much believe that if you have an intention to do something, and you keep that in the back of your mind, it will come to you at some point.
So your mindset plays a big role in being able to do stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
You have to be willing to say like it's just not happening right now. And I know other people have different processes that they go through, but for me that is my process where it's like, okay, if I'm writing something down, and it's not working like that, that's okay.
That's okay. It has to be okay, right? Yeah. And so I want to bring that up, that frustration is normal, even in people who they do it for a living, right? And that you can just set something aside and then come back to it, and that it has to be about like, what am I trying to do? What is my intention? And I think that's a really great point. Okay, so we have something about like I think you have a video for us, correct?
I do.
Okay, awesome. So I'm trying to figure out what we've not asked you. Sorry about that.
No,
okay. So your best work, right? Your shining star moment. My mom would put this on the fridge, right? Has that changed? Do you still have like this was it? This was my pinnacle, or do you? I mean, obviously you're keeping on going with it, but how do you know when you've made something that's it for you? I guess.
That's a really hard question.
I know.
I've tried to maintain the idea that if I like every little accomplishment, if that's all I ever accomplished, I would be okay with that.
Okay.
Because it's more than I thought that I would get. The first time a song was played on the radio, I was like, okay, like if we never do anything else,
I got on the radio.
Really cool. This is awesome, and someone at the radio station thought it was good enough for thousands of people to hear, and I never thought that would happen. The first time we played a big music venue for hundreds of people, okay, like this is good enough. With a song, I don't know that I've ever reached that point. I mean, there have been many moments, especially over the past 3 years, where we finished a song. It's like, man, that was really good. It was really cool. And at the same time, what is always happening is like we're in the middle of recording an album right now, and I'm already writing new music. In my mind, I'm already done with these songs.
Yeah.
And I still have to commit to working on them, fleshing them out, making them as good as possible when we're in the studio, because other people haven't heard these songs. But because it's an emotional experience for me, it's like I have all these other things that I want to get out of myself, and so I'm doing that over here.
Yeah.
I will say though, the pinnacle so far, as far as a song goes, would probably be a song called "Off in Space," that's on the album that we put out last year. It's not the most popular song on the album, but for me, it was one of the first songs where I wasn't writing from like purely based on an emotion that I was feeling. I created a story. I created a story of a man who had lost his wife and tried to create the imagery around the story so that whoever was listening to it might be able to feel like they were actually there and they were this person who had lost someone, and all of the feelings that go with losing someone and never being able to find that again. That same experience, that same connection with another person. And I'd been pushing myself to do that for a really long time and remove my personal feelings from it and just create a story. And I did it. And for me, bringing that all together, and it was something that ended up moving me, was really cool.
Okay, that's a fantastic story, and I want to add to that. So all your writing is not necessarily 100% nonfiction.
Right.
Some of it is a created story, like you said. Some of it is fictionalized. How much? What would you say is like your percentage? Like how much of it is purely an idea out of my head versus how much of it is based off of what I have experienced and what I am feeling?
I would say maybe like 20% of what I write is fictionalized.
Okay.
You know, even in that, obviously there is something that inspired this idea or feeling.
Right.
There's parts of it in there, but the idea behind it was fiction.
Okay.
You know, I don't think I could sit around and just create
Yeah.
fictional stories all day and get away with it, but I was able to then.
Well, and I think that's also another really good point, right? That we don't have to be all one thing or another, right? You can kind of vacillate between genres, right? So I can write a little bit of fiction here, and then I can write some nonfiction here. So it doesn't have to be all or one. I think that's a really great point. So Mitch, if you could time travel and go back to your 7th and 8th grade self, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell yourself just inspirationally, and then what would you tell yourself about reading and writing? Start with the reading and writing, and then.
I would tell myself to pay more attention, which sounds like such an adult thing to say, but it's true, because this has become a big part of my life. Like, you know, there's plenty of other subjects that I don't apply to my life every day.
Algebra?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
right.
You need algebra. You do.
You know, it's helpful. But the writing piece, in 7th and 8th grade, because that was when it started for me, I wish that I would tell myself to pay more attention, because there's ideas when you're sitting down and writing, and tools that you learn from, you know, writing or literature class or English class, and that help you. Like, there's plenty of times where I'm sitting around like, how could I say this differently? And I wish that I had a tool that could help me come up with a better way to say this, or turn a phrase, or something like that. Because I believe that if I could have linked those things together, it would have become even more of a passion for me to, you know, it would have opened my mind up to the idea that, like, this is applicable to me in many other ways than just, you know, what grade am I getting this year?
Yeah.
And it's hard to see the future when you're in 7th and 8th grade.
Right.
But it's there.
It's coming. It's coming for you.
And there are bits and pieces that you're going to pick up along the way in school that you'll find later in life that you appreciate having, or wish that you did have. Yeah.
All right. So if you could tell your 7th grade self, other than pay attention more in English class, which is what he said, just want to make sure you all know that. What else would you tell yourself just about life?
Gosh, that's such a hard question to answer. Listen to your mom. Because
Listen to your mom.
Because
He's saying that because his mom's behind the camera.
yeah, that's definitely one of the
Yeah.
reasons. It's also true. There are people that have your best interest in mind, and it doesn't always feel that way, because they're asking you to do something that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that a lot of times you should do, and to not give up, to realize that that there is more to life than just the present moment that you're living in, and that the things that are happening right now are very important, so that you can move forward and have the life that you want later on, whether that's going to college, whether that's going into a job career, finishing middle school, finishing high school. Everything is linked together for a reason, and it's hard to see that in 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
But it's very true. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was Readers and Writers of Real Life with Mitch Stewart. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.